Hey everyone, I'm Ray and I am back with the fabulous Tiffany.
Hi guys.
Tiffany, my favorite question to ask you after
Yeah.
any Twitter chat is how you feeling?
Oh, it was awesome. No, it doesn't matter how many we do. It
Mhm.
just never ceases to be awesome. And I love when we have a chat like we had tonight where we go into it and I'm not going to lie, I have some pretty opinionated opinions about textbooks, but the conversations that were happening tonight were really insightful. There were 100 different opinions that people had. Like there was just so much going on. And I
Yeah.
love when I get in a chat where there's like civil conflict, you know what I mean? Where there's disagreement in a positive way. And I just want everybody to know that all your voices are heard in Mastery Chat. And I appreciate the people who disagree with me as much, if not more, than the people who agree with me, just because I love to grow. You know, like
Sure.
our team, Ray, you know, we're always challenging each other, right?
Yeah.
Always pushing each other on concepts and theory and pedagogy. And I love that. I live off that.
Yeah.
So how about you, Ray? What do you think?
Oh my gosh. It's just like exactly what I needed, right? I have been kind of disconnected the
Yeah.
past 2 weeks. And then before that, it was just kind of a whirlwind. I feel like I missed 100 Twitter chats. Like, I don't know where I've been, but I haven't been here.
Didn't you
And
just miss two? Like, was it just two that you missed?
I don't know, it felt like a million. So,
We'll go with that.
but honestly, I mean, like being able to just like be around our people was
Yes.
fantastic. But then
Yes.
also, this Twitter chat like made you think. Like, if you out there listening were not a part of the chat, go back and just
You
read.
got to read it. Mm-hmm.
Just read.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a really good one to go back and read though, because I didn't see. Sometimes in Twitter chats it can be a little like repetitive, and this one seemed to have really in-depth conversations, which sometimes really hard to get in a Twitter chat. So,
Well, and I think that a big part of it is that there are such vastly differing opinions on what a textbook's role in the classroom is. You know what I mean? Like, I just, because everybody comes from different places on this perspective, it's not a bunch of people saying, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Because people don't necessarily agree on this topic, which is awesome.
yeah.
Ooh, okay. So I have to tell you, during this chat, I don't know if you saw it, but I did like a little experiment because I wanted to, because I like doing new things. And I put a poll out there. Did you see the poll?
Yes.
Yeah. So I wanted to take a second and share the results of this poll because I think it can help people kind of get a sense of the differing perspectives, right? So the poll was, tell us about the textbook situation at your school. Does your admin provide textbooks? How do they want you to use them? And do you want textbooks? So the four choices were, you have to use the textbook with fidelity, keep that word, but that's an option. Can use a textbook as a resource, no book, unfortunately, and no book, thankfully. So I was excited to put this out there and kind of see what people thought of the poll. And so the number one answer with 73% of people responding was that they had a book and they can use it as a resource. So only 8% of people say that their district has that fidelity thing kind of playing a role, saying you have to teach this lesson on this day and so on and so forth. And 73% said their districts said they could use it as a resource. So I thought that was interesting.
It is interesting, especially for those administrators, like school leaders that are in our, Teach Better group, to really reflect on if you are right now leading a building that's requiring that, how does that then differ? Why are you in that 8% versus the 73? What's that difference?
Well, and that can launch into a whole other series of conversations because a lot of times, at least in Ohio, I don't know if this is the same in Illinois, or our viewers can tell us if it's similar in other places, when a school district is really struggling with low test scores or high poverty, in Ohio, the state can actually come in and kind of take over and say, you have to do exactly this at exactly this time, and be very rigid with it. So I'm wondering if in other states it's similar. I don't know. You guys share. Tell me. I'm not sure. I just know Ohio.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what people think. In our Twitter chat, we've had people from all over the states, but we also had Canada, India. You mentioned that we had someone from Israel. I mean, there's people all over, so that's a perfect question to pose to our group, asking, how can the government be involved, and then are textbooks a solution that they seem to offer? I don't know.
Right. Well, and then there was another subset of the people who answered that poll that said they don't have textbooks, unfortunately. And so this brings up the fact that there are some people who like textbooks, and anyway, I'm getting way off topic, but that's why the chat was so interesting tonight, because there was such a wide variety of opinions. Jeff said that 8% seems way too high. That's almost 1 in 10 teachers saying that they have to teach a textbook given to them with fidelity, like lesson by lesson. And Jeff, I agree. That fidelity thing always makes me uneasy. Illinois can do that too. My high school was state taken over. Yeah, there's a district. Yeah, a district right by where Jeff grew up in Ohio had the state take over.
Nice. And Megan's a teacher in Galesburg, Illinois, so I know that.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think about the different perspectives between the teachers that we know and talk to every day on Twitter and in our PLN, and their perspective on textbooks. And then to see the perspective of something like that, where a state can see a low performing school and come in and dictate exactly how and when that's done. That's an interesting conversation.
Yeah, I have to tell you, Tiff, I have 3 or 4 different routes we could take this conversation. I'm trying to decide which to mention first, and where we need to dip our toes versus just
stay far away from. Yeah.
But first and foremost, I want to applaud you for that poll, because when I saw the poll come through my feed, I retweeted it and I said something along the lines of whoa, Tiffany's shaking it up, throwing a poll in here. I actually think that was a first for our mastery chat. So I think that needs to be more of a norm.
I think we should do more of those, right? Because it's just a super quick.
And it was quick, but more importantly, as we talk about with our Twitter chats, we all get on side conversations, right? Jeff in his comments earlier said, I just got so sidetracked because the topic was fabulous. You're connecting with educators around the world and you just can't catch it all. And it's actually interesting then to have a tweet that maybe can encompass more of the group and keep that conversation going. So very cool. You definitely need to keep with that.
Yeah, I think we should. And I think also, sometimes it can be, as intimidating coming into a Twitter chat, right? You're in there and there are hundreds and thousands of tweets just flying by, and you may not feel completely comfortable with yourself enough to put your thoughts out there quite yet. And a Twitter poll is an easier, more accessible way to do that. So I think we should definitely make those a bigger part of our chats, because I think that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we had we had so many new faces, at least for me.
We did.
I loved it. But then we had our oldies and our goodies, right? Susan, shout out to Susan. She was in there with us. And, when we went live earlier for our preview, we had Alyssa Jones, who's a teacher that's not participated in our Twitter chats, but she's been on live a few times. So we're going in the right direction.
I love it. And I so enjoy that people continue to find value in what we talk about. And honestly, it kind of blows my mind that people still find value in what we talk about, because we're really just here every week saying Mastery Chat is the coolest thing in the whole wide world, and people are right here with us. So I'll take that. There is one thing that I want to bring up that I thought was really interesting. Oh, Jeff, yes, I will do that every week now. I will make a poll and then share the results on Facebook Live. It's a deal.
You heard her. This is live. You heard her.
My commitment. But it was question 6. And so question 6 was, I don't have it in front of me, but it was something about where would you want districts to spend the money that they could save from not purchasing textbooks? Because textbooks are so insanely expensive. Yeah. And so in my head, my first thought and the answer that I put out there was, I want districts to be spending that money to pay teachers to have the time to collaborate and create their own materials, right? But some of the responses were more varied. And I thought they were very interesting. There were dozens of people who said that they wanted that money to go to professional learning experiences for teachers, to send teachers to PD and to conferences and all of that. And that just kind of blew me away, because I'm somebody who goes and does PD. Like I put it on, right? And it didn't even cross my mind to say that's where districts should spend the money, which is just hilarious.
But really consider, this may be the only profession that you say, we have a lot of money, where do you want it to go? And people say, I want to learn.
Yeah.
Right? Not pay me for my time, not give me a salary increase, but please let me go learn. Like, that's powerful.
I just got chills. Because you're right. Like, it's so, you know, a lot of times you hear teachers say, I want more time, I want more time. But how many teachers do not even ask to go to PD, to go to a conference, because they know it's not going to happen? Like, right. So maybe the reason teachers aren't asking for it anymore is because they just know the answer is no. Like, maybe that's the reason I hear all the time, I just want time to work. I just want time to work. Well, how many PD, like, let's just think about the PD that we've been to, right?
Sure.
In the spring, we went to the Blended and Personalized Learning Conference in Rhode Island. Blew our minds. It was amazing. It was so energizing. Great group of people. In fact, some of the people watching this chat and watching this live and in the chat, we met at BPLC.
Yeah.
And then just a few weeks ago, we went to Summer Spark in Wisconsin, and interacted with amazing people there. And those experiences, that they've really formed who we are and how we believe, and a lot of what we do here on this team. And there's teachers who never get a chance to do that.
Well, and in between those two huge hubs that we were part of 20 other PD opportunities. I mean, in between that we either put on ourselves or helped facilitate or were a part of. So absolutely. I mean, you just named two of the biggest ones that have blown my mind within the past 2 months.
Right.
But don't even open it up to 6 months, because now we're in like, because we do PD all the time. It's true.
Yeah. And every time I go, whether I'm presenting, whether I'm participating, it's just always gives me something to come back and be better. You know what I mean? It's like, you absorb it all and you go back and you give that back to your students in so many amazing ways. What did Megan say?
Megan, she was talking about how just there's so many amazing things out there. She's so great.
Well, and that touches on what we say all the time. Chad says it endlessly. The solutions to the problems that we see in our classroom exist in classrooms somewhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And the failure that we have is a failure to communicate it, and a failure to share and connect. And if we can figure out how to get that, if we can figure out how to connect educators, which we're seeing in Twitter, and we're seeing at conferences, and we're seeing in all of these amazing ways, but if we can figure out how to bring those people together and share those ideas, my gosh, the world explodes in awesomeness. Yeah. It's all right there. I mean, Jeff has ideas that can transform the way I teach. And Susan is getting ideas and sharing ideas that are going to transform her life as a first-year teacher. And it's those connections that are just mind-blowing.
Yeah, it's funny.
How many chills?
Well, and you were getting me now. I'm like on a separate tangent in my mind.
I know, me too.
We're going to go. But like, we talked about how I was on vacation. I was in Scotland, Italy, and during my trip, there were two huge conferences I wish I had been able to go to. One was ISTE in Chicago. I can't believe I wasn't there. One was the Teach On National Conference. I can't believe I wasn't there.
Yes,
but
yes.
I mean, I was like a loser having total FOMO as I'm sitting in a villa in Tuscany, like looking through my Facebook feed. I was such a dork. I was like, oh, that looks so much fun. But I actually got value living vicariously through all my other education friends, like Megan, who we've been talking about and who's a part of what we're doing right now, was at ISTE. It was cool to kind of live it vicariously through her, right? Like, sorry, Megan, I was like totally in on your vacation, right? So
you should follow the hashtag not at ISTE. Not at ISTE 20. Oh my gosh. Because we are not alone, Ray, in the fact that I am going to be at ISTE next year. Everybody watching, if I am not at ISTE, you need to come knock on my door and drag me there and then pay for me to go, because that's the only reason I wouldn't go. But I wanted to be there so bad. You need to pop up Jeff's comments, because literally almost made me tear up. He said this chat is going to make all of that happen. And Jeff, it's not this chat, it's the people that are here coming together. And I am just so honored that we are a part of all of you. And somehow we started Mastery Chat at the right time, in the right place, with the right group of people. And holy moly, what we have built together. It's not Ray, it's not me, it's not Jeff, it's not Chad, it's not Amber. It is everyone in the Mastery Chat family that is just changing the world.
It's Stella.
Yeah. It's Stella. Is it Stella?
It's just
Stella, we need to meet in person.
All right. We need to get a little back on topic, only because there were so many things in this chat that I was a little taken back by, and I had to kind of bite my tongue and ask questions rather than jump on people as they were tweeting.
Right.
So
right.
Did you see a theme that you were surprised about? I did.
Okay. Because the one that keeps popping into my head is the PD answer, but we already talked about that. So it has to be something different. Go ahead.
So I think the theme that stuck with me so much was that I saw so many tweets from people that I disagreed with, or that I either strongly agreed with them or I strongly disagreed. And I ended up engaging in conversations with both of those people. Or, I mean, there were tons of them, right? So both groups.
Yeah.
And in the end, I realized, and I looked at the clock, it was about the 45-minute, where I realized that the conversations I was having, the ways we disagreed, actually all led to the same core value of wanting to do right by our students. Oh. And I thought that was really interesting. What?
No, I just love that, because that's intense, right?
It was intense.
Coming from different perspectives and different approaches. I don't believe there's a teacher out there that wants to set out and not do right by their students. I think when you get strongly opinionated educators that disagree on the topic, you can see some really interesting things happen. I love that, what you just said, that they came to this same point of wanting to do what's best for kids.
Right. And they really did, because there were 2 or 3 or 4, now that I'm thinking, there were 4 people specifically I engaged with the entire time, that from the second question, they're talking about how they loved textbooks. They didn't understand teachers that didn't want them. And they actually believed that possibly educators were not being held accountable without textbooks. And so I was trying to pry a little bit. I was like, so tell me more. What do you like about the textbook you're using? How are you using it to really determine if it's effective? And we had, I mean, truly, I'm biting my tongue, not giving my opinion. I'm just asking questions. And it ended, a lot of them, with just saying listen, a textbook isn't the end all be all, but I just want to do right by my kids. And this is the solution I have right now. And maybe if we talked about this further with those people, we might find even more of a middle ground. But it was so interesting to be able to sit with teachers on a Thursday night and realize that regardless of this controversial topic, there's so many reasons to keep the conversation going, because we're all just trying to do what's best for our students.
Yeah, and I think in so many, that thought line of thinking applies in so many areas of teaching. Think about the way you interact with parents, right? Your parents don't want bad things for their child. You don't want bad things for their child. You just might come at it from different directions. Sure. And Chad has a blog he wrote, some things that your administrator wants you to know, 3 things or something, right? And it's not that. A lot of times there's this very adversarial relationship between administration and teachers, and there can be a lot of the blame game getting thrown around. And when it comes down to it, whether you're in this role or this role, you're trying to do what you believe is best for kids. And what happens is a failure to communicate. In my own district that I was at last year, there was a belief on the part of many of the teachers that they had to follow the textbook with absolute fidelity. I was in a unique position where I kind of lived in an in-between world. Like I spent some time with teachers and some time with administrators, and had many conversations with the curriculum director. And it was very clear that that was not the dictate. It was not do it with fidelity, do it on this day and this day. And so there was just, there was communication that wasn't working, and neither side was out there to harm kids, and they aren't out there against each other. It's just nobody was communicating right. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's one reason I really like these controversial mastery chats, and I get really fired up by them. And generally the ones that I moderate tend to have some controversy because I live on that. Jeff. Yep. I didn't say the politics word, but Jeff did because I was thinking it. But what was I saying?
But it's good to have some controversial topics in Twitter. It is, because it really was eye-opening for me. I think a lot of Twitter chats, I say it over and over, can be a lot of people agreeing on the same topic. And it is fun to be able to have a respectable group of educators having a healthy conversation about what's best for kids. And with everything that we've been doing, gosh, the best thing we can do for ourselves and the best thing we can do for our kids is start connecting and keep collaborating. So it was very cool.
You know what else is a great topic? Maybe we should do this sometime. The next chat I moderate, maybe we can talk about lecture and direct instruction. Because I have gotten into some really interesting conversations that have not gone terribly negative, but really interesting conversations on Twitter with people who have a very different view than I have. So maybe that'll be coming sometime this fall when I moderate our next chat.
I really like that idea. Okay, I'm excited. We should go live to talk about it.
I like it. Let's do it.
All right. Well, Tiff, you did phenomenal. You are always so fun to have moderate because you're awesome. And Twitter chats are awesome. And going live with you is awesome. So thanks for letting me be a part of your awesomeness, because it just like oozes out of you. And I know that we were all really happy with how our chat went. Yeah. If you guys were not able to be part of the chat, don't be scared. Log on to Twitter, go to #MasteryChat and just read. There was so much out there, so many opinions, so many great little snippets, good thinking thoughts that would allow good conversation for further after this chat. So feel free to go check those out.
And nag us, you know, like we love talking about this kind of stuff. So if you get an idea or a thought and you want to bounce it off of us, shoot us a message. And if we don't respond, shoot us another message, because sometimes we get a lot of messages. So nag us. Before we go though, Ray, there is something that I want to mention. Karen wrote a comment on the video, and I want to make sure we address it. She said, can you tell them about the Making Grids group trying to put together in Dayton and Cincinnati, Ohio area? So right now this video is playing on the public Facebook page, right? So you search the grid method and this is the public page. Over in our private Facebook group, which if you're not a member, you should be, you once again search the grid method, but look for the private group, right? Request to join. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of educators that are really in that group on a mission to make using mastery learning with the grid method awesome, along with a bunch of other really neat things that they're exploring, like community engagement and challenging gifted learners and a whole bunch of things. But just in the last couple days, there has been kind of a coalescence of teachers from that private Facebook group who have said, hey, we want to form a cohort and, you know, get together and make grids. So it's in Southwest Ohio. If you are anywhere near that area, the Dayton, Cincinnati area, also very close to Indiana, etc. Reach out to Karen Whitaker McKinley and reach out to us, and we can kind of get you connected, because that there's something in the water down there. They love grids in Southwest Ohio, which everybody should. But reach out, we'll connect you.
A little then add on to that is that if you're not in that area, like the other cool people that live in Central Illinois, you can still be part of this Facebook group and share. I know that you mentioned that specific group that's looking to get together and design grids, but I feel like there's been a huge push within the past 2 weeks of teachers getting in that group and saying, listen, I want to start thinking about August. Is there anyone willing to start collaborating with me? There's so much collaboration that can be done virtually. And if you post in there saying, hey, I'm looking for someone to collaborate on 8th grade art and no one responds, that doesn't mean that there's not people to collaborate with. There just may not be an 8th grade art teacher to collaborate with, but I can tell you, I would love to collaborate with you. And Tiffany, I mean, we do it all the time.
Yeah, so, Ray and I mean, pick a topic and we could probably help you figure it out, because I've taught a lot of different things in a lot of different ways, in a lot of different grade levels. So like 3rd through 10th grade, I got your back. Just reach out to me and I can probably help you with it.
But there's also, outside of content, there's so many procedural things, classroom management things, grid design, that we would love to answer a question. We live on it, right? Like, send us questions. So be a part of this private Facebook group, just so you can share in the excitement of teachers getting ready for the fall, wanting to do right by their kids, but also starting to get like food for thought ideas on how you're going to implement mastery learning in your classroom. So
love it. So many awesome things, Ray.
So many things.
It's been a week of awesomeness.
I know. And more to come. So
always more to come.
Next week for Mastery Chat, we will see you here, same time, same place. And I have no idea who's hosting, but it's going to be someone great.
I didn't look it up either. Oh my gosh, that's terrible. We'll put a comment on the video so you know who's hosting. I'm sure it's going to be somebody absolutely mind-blowingly fabulous and awesome, because that's how we roll.
It is how we roll.
Right, Ray?
Yes, it is. All right. Love you guys. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thanks, guys. See you next week.